Hey, all right. Welcome. Just let the sound settle in. Hear the sounds that you're hearing. These sounds are arising nowhere else other than here and now. So anytime you feel like you're elsewhere, and you know when you feel like you're elsewhere because it doesn't particularly feel good, just take a moment and listen to what you hear. Take a moment to be with your breath. One breath is all it takes. And you find that you're just back to self, back to home, back to center. And you'll notice you actually didn't have to go anywhere to come back to center. You just have to let go of wherever you were. It's really not complicated. There's no trying involved. Trying anything is a guaranteed way to negate the thing you think you're trying. Just let it all go. Hear the sounds. Feel the breath. Be here now.
Battery 80%. Battery 80%.
And see if you could notice, however it appears to you, life moving through you as you. Not your life, not their life, as if those are two distinct and separate things. Just life, moving through that which you call you. Notice that it's all happening without you having to do a thing. Notice how sounds arise and fall away. They just change, they just keep moving. Sensations arise and fall away, they just keep shifting. Thoughts come, thoughts go. Feelings come, feelings go. Now notice what it is that is aware of all of that motion. Notice where it begins and where it ends. Does it? This that notices, does it ever move? Does it ever change? Does it ever come and go? Or is it simply that our awareness of being awareness, or our awareness of being aware, comes and goes? Our attention. The attention moves. Can you decide which sensation comes next? Can you choose which thought comes next? Which feeling? What experience moves through? Can you choose where to place your attention? Now, that's a different story. When you're caught up in something, as you're caught up in it, can you choose where to place your attention? Or is it just locked into whatever it's into at that moment? But then consider a time when you realize, I need to get centered. And all of a sudden you pulled back and out from the thing that you were in. And you place your attention back into being aware of being aware. And the awareness is always there. It never went anywhere. It's the entirety of the space into which everything comes and goes. So it doesn't go anywhere. And the sensations, feelings, thoughts, those are all constantly moving. And then there's this one aspect that you can decide where to place it when you are in awareness. And that is your attention. And you may have noticed where you place that attention is actually everything. It makes the difference. It's the difference that makes the difference. There's a sensation that's going on, and that somehow I decide this is not comfortable, I don't like this. The attention gets fixated on it. That produces one kind of an experience. And the moment it occurs to you that you could pull back into awareness and change where you place your attention, and you shift it, perhaps to the breath, perhaps to some kind of a phrase that brings you peace, perhaps to simply being exactly with nature as it is right now, and hearing and seeing and feeling. Change the attention. The experience changes. Isn't that interesting? There are times when the woe is me, by whatever disguise it takes on in the moment, arises. And the attention gets locked into it. And it produces some very distinct feelings and sensations in the body. Pretty good bet they don't feel good. So something in you notices, and you say, oh, I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to focus on some gratitude. And you shifted your attention. That's what actually happened. You made a choice where to put the attention. And all of a sudden the experience shifts. Isn't that interesting? Energy flows where attention goes. Energy is constantly flowing through us. It cannot do anything except that, because all there is energy. Some of it's in the form of the body, some of it's in the form of thought, some of it's in the form of that which you feel yourself to be. It's constantly moving, it's constantly dynamic, it's constantly creating. It is unstoppable because this is the nature of what it is. And so that's going to move and create no matter what. And as the attention gets locked into something unpleasant, hypnotized, delusionalized, the energy is flowing there and amplifying and creating more of that. And when we can let that go and put the attention somewhere that we know for ourselves is uplifting, is perhaps soothing in a good way. I don't mean putting the attention on alcohol. We can immediately start to feel the difference. Now, if it's an intense hole that we habitually fall into, we all know what that feels like. It may take a little bit more time to shift out of it once you've changed your attention, but it will happen. So this just flowing is creation in motion. It's constant. It's constant. The life force is constantly creating through us as us. And sometimes we talk about being co-creator What's the co part? It's where you choose to place your attention. And you only have that choice when you're aware. So when we let our attention rest in awareness, it's a very strong amplifier. And the more we do, the more it comes through and creates from this place. Because creation is happening constantly. It cannot be shut off. It cannot be disabled. It cannot be slowed down. It is constantly creation. Just being what it is. Place the attention on the phrase or the belief, I'm not creative. And what you're actually creating is a feeling that you're not creative. Isn't that interesting? Place attention on even the smallest thing that you do that you feel is a creative act. And it amplifies greatly. So simply pay attention to where you're placing your attention. That's a pretty powerful practice. And we shall start from there. Welcome, Andrew. When I was younger, I used to really think I'm not creative. So to remedy that, I married a creative genius. Say hi to everybody.
Hi to everybody.
There's the creative genius over there.
Hi, everybody.
I guess I had a particular idea of what creative meant. I don't know. But whatever it was, my mind said, I'm not that. Tiny little box, right. Elaine is going like this. And tying back into something I said during that opening, I'm the one who created the box. And so tonight's talk or topic and sharing is about inspiration and creation. I didn't say inspiration and creativity. I didn't bring any origami paper or anything tonight. I'm talking about something far more fundamental, far more innate to what we are. We are creation in motion. Just sit with that for a minute. You might not have thought about that. We are creative in the sense that every moment our energy, that what's coming through us, is being broadcast, being projected onto this three-dimensional holodeck. I mean, this is here because of what creation is doing through our neurology. It's non-personal. But there is a localized aspect that interacts with this energy flow as it comes down from, let's call it, the non-physical down into the nervous system through the psychological and the personal localized makeup of that. Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, sensations, everything is flowing here, which is kind of like the lens that energy comes through. And it moves out through the nervous system, gets projected out into the physical plane. And we are right in the path of that. It can't happen without us. Somebody could argue about that one if they want. But it can't happen without us. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear it, did it make a sound? Did it? Did it make a sound? Or did molecules of air simply move? What is a sound? A sound doesn't become a sound until the nervous system does something with it and generates an experience that we each have as a sound. We look up there, we call that light, let's just say for argument's sake, we're calling it white. Does white exist? Or is it a bunch of photons that your nervous system is translating into something that you are perceiving that we agree is white? But there's no way to know if the hue of what you call white is my yellow or not. Where's all of this 3D reality happening? The sages, and they all tell us it's really a projection of our consciousness. Going back to it, the last conversation we had was around what? Awakening in the dream, right? And so think about the last dream. All that stuff was going on in there, but was it actually there? The projection of your own mind. Well, the sages tell us this is the same thing. It's just running on a different time frame. And there's crossover where we have certain agreement about it. So creation is happening all the time. And if we don't recognize that we're an active participant in it, an active co-creator in it, then what it appears like is that everything out there is happening to us. Random occurrences can occur. But if what I experience and what I draw to myself and what I repel from myself is really a result of the creation energy coming through this and my interaction with it, then is anything actually happening to me? Is there any actual kind of a disconnected event that happens that's got nothing to do with me? It can appear that way. But that's what Maya is all about. That's what the yogis call the house of mirrors. The illusion. Creation, inspiration and creation. What's inspiration? We've all felt it. What is it? Where's it come from? In spirit, inspiration. The idea for this talk tonight started because I spent the week, as I mentioned, many of you know, at Peter Gabriel's Real World Recording Studios. And I was steeped in nothing but inspiration for a week. I mean, everything I saw, everything I felt, everything I heard, every conversation we had, everything we learned, is just like sitting in this immense, deep well of creation in motion. And it shows up for us in the form of creativity as one of the ways it expresses itself. I invited an expert guest tonight to talk about creation and inspiration. So I'm going to give her the floor for a little bit. This is a woman who can look at a blank canvas and feel no intimidation whatsoever. Let me see if I can do this. No, okay.
Am I supposed to do something with
I'll move
this?
this closer to you so it can be easier. Yeah.
Like my big knees are in the picture.
I'm inspired to give this for your back.
Yeah, move this closer even.
Well, as long as you're asking me to speak,
Yeah.
I'll start with inspiration. To me, inspiration is always around us. We acknowledge it or we don't. But there are these sparks that come into your presence, into your mind, as you said, from spirit, but I'm thinking it's from my soul. My soul has desires, and when I get confronted with something, I hear something, I think of something, it's not just a piece of information, it's a zing. It lights me up when it's inspiration. And often for me, it is asking me to take an action, to take a step, to do something, or to acknowledge that, wow, I have a passion for an old window that looks like it's falling apart, which often leads me to want to photograph it. But there's a constant flow, and a lot of it is a communication with your soul, a communication with spirit, and being able to get so trusting of it that you feel it, hear it, see it, know it. We lead busy lives, and we are always, I mean, there's work to be done, there's paperwork, there's mail, there's bills, there are things, and that keeps us busy enough with earthly activities that maybe you're not acknowledging the inspiration that's coming to you. But once you start saying yes to the inspiration that's coming in, you're saying actually yes to the communication that brings it to you. And it allows you to now take the next step and the next step with whatever you're inspired by. Inspiration is a gift, and we each have it. And what inspires me is different than what inspires you. And that's what makes this so amazing, because we all have our own journeys. So for me, inspiration's pretty cool. Then there's what you do with it. But I want to go back to creating. We, partly because if we're in the flow of what's happening, or if we're not, in any moment, we're saying yes, we're either ignoring the messages that are coming. How many times have you said, I knew I should have done that. I knew I shouldn't have gone to that whatever. I knew I should have made that call. We're getting messages all the time. Every choice we make to listen or not to listen is part of our flow. And it is the process of creating ourselves. And I think the big thing, being creative in the world, that's cool. I mean, I can't stop creating things. But the biggest thing of all is I'm creating me in every moment. And we all are doing it whether we're acknowledging it or not. We're not the same tomorrow as we were today. We're not the same next week. And what's interesting is we make future plans based on who we are today, without really acknowledging what's going to happen and who we are becoming in the days ahead. And it's very clear when I'm doing a painting. If I am working on a painting, I'm in the middle of it, I have an idea of where I'm going, and I don't touch it for another 2 months, I come back, the person I am is not the same. I do not look at that painting the same way. I might remember what I was planning to do, but I'm not there anymore. I'm in a new place, so I have to view it as a totally new creative project. And I think that's the same thing with us. We make plans, we have goals, and we focus on the goal instead of the steps we're taking to get there. Because the best part of the journey is the part where you end up with the path changing. The path is going to change. It'll take you maybe in another direction, and you end up where you never expected to go. And that's us creating our lives, just allowing the flow, allowing what will be, instead of trying to hold on to where we are, what we are, and what do we expect. I think I could pause.
Yeah.
And
Anybody
you
have
can see I'm passionate about it.
nonstop?
You may want to turn it around.
I was going to say, I mean, what is, as I mentioned earlier, you can't not create. It's impossible. But we just don't recognize the degree to which we do this. That's the thing. I started off saying I didn't think I was creative when I was younger. Well, it turns out that even then it wasn't true. It's just that the mind came up with these cockamamie designations of what creation is and what creative is and what creative is not. I mean, I've been playing music my whole life. That's not creative? And so finally, I mean, I think coming to live with Wendy. I got a front row seat to watching creation in motion, and it just inspired me. What is inspiration? We call it, you said it's a voice from the soul. It comes from spirit, it comes from source. And so, as you mentioned, it's always speaking to us. And so I think it's useful to notice where I'm listening and where I'm not. How I manifest not listening. That's very useful. Because the moment I see it, it can shift. And over the years, I have come to realize and recognize that every breath I take is an act of creation through this thing called me. And creation is not some abstract thing. It is the carrier wave for joy. And so to say yes to your true nature, which is to be, we're made in the image of the Creator. We're not made in the image of a car driver, we're made in the image of the Creator. It's fundamental to the nature of reality to be creation in flow. We're made in the image of this. And I think so much of what blocks it, I'm thinking now more broadly, too much of the culture and too much of everyone within the culture listens to the no. They listen to the no more than the yes. Even the idea of follow your heart, follow your passion, most people don't make money at that. So therefore, it's not practical. There's the no, right? My parents steered me into being an engineer rather than a musician. There was a certain amount of no imposed over an essential part of myself. Thankfully, it was too strong a force and it found its way to express. And then, thankfully, there's several people here in the room where we all got to sing together for 20-something years. And Josh inviting me into that choir completely changed the trajectory of my life in every possible dimension. Because it wasn't just singing, there was writing, it was arranging, it was drumming, it was doing the artwork for our programs eventually, it was managing the choir, which is another act of creation.
The community.
Community, building community, that's a big act of creation. Of course, I didn't do it myself, but I got to play some kind of a significant role in it. And so here I am now far down the line, and I can honestly tell you, every moment of every breath is a dynamic, alive, joyful flow, because it's something finally, I've said yes in enough ways for it all to line up. So I'm not resisting that flow anymore. And so all that's happening constantly is creation in motion. And I don't know where my next step goes. I do these things a couple of times a month. I have no idea what I'm going to say when things start.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. You're right, because you start to overthink things and it's going to be boring as hell.
You mean you didn't memorize it?
I did not memorize it. Okay, so then here's the other factor in terms of creation and inspiration. Because it is fundamentally what we are. That's the thing I want to come back to. The other piece that enables it, and that I think that becomes enabled simultaneously, is trust. I think you mentioned it, Wendy. You trust the voice. You trust where it's taking you. You know, the ego mind will say, that's not the direction we should be going in. As if it knows. As if it knows where the right direction is. That's the voice that's been telling you all your life, I can get us out of the mess that I got us into. In fact, it says, it's not saying that I got us into, it's saying that he got us into, or she got us into. Something outside of itself got us into this mess. And trust me, I can get us out of it. Quoting the Course in Miracles verbatim, it says, 2 things are absolutely true. God's plan always works and yours never does. And so if you want to take out any religious overtone of any of that, what it is saying is creation knows what it's doing. It created us. It created all of this. This is not random. There's no such thing at this level. There's no such thing. The field knows what it's doing. The creative flow knows what it's doing. And so it really is only a matter of how much we're in alignment with it or not. When we're in alignment with it, there's a transparency, there's a fluidity, there's a flow that naturally occurs. Because the cells of the body are listening to the same conductor that the mind is listening to, that the soul is listening to, that the spirit is expressing as. It's just one fluid motion. There's no resistance between those layers. That's alignment. That's attunement. You want to slip the religion into it, that's atonement. What, Catherine?
At one.
At one
At
mint.
one.
Yeah. See, at one mint has no guilt. Religious atonement is loaded with it. Repent! Ay, 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 ay.
Or at 1 mint.
So, here's the interesting thing about inspiration. You did say something, Wendy, about it's available to everyone. And the amazing thing about it is it shows up for each one of us in the exact configuration that will spark the most joy and health and wellness and well-being. And what just flashed into the mind is Jesus saying, ask and ye shall receive. Well, ask for inspiration. Ask to be shown. Ask to see it. Ask to be able to release the blocks. Ask to be able to let go of anything that's in the way for you. And watch what happens.
And trust
And trust.
that the answers will be.
It comes. In surprising ways, in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone on this call is interested in helping the whole, really, you know. There's no more powerful way for you to affect the whole than you being in alignment with that which inspires you. There's no more powerful way. Because what you're saying is, I'm going into an alignment with this incredibly powerful waveform this incredibly powerful wave that is nothing but pure joy and love. I'm coming into alignment with this, and it's singing through my neurology. And it broadcasts, it projects. We're projectors. Our whole system is a projection system onto this holodeck. It really is. And so when I'm caught up in the woe is me level, the woe is me channel, the drama channel, that's really what it is.
Drama.
Drama. I need Dramamine because of the drama. Because I'm getting seasick from all this crazy shit that's flowing through here. If that's where I'm focused, then I am literally attuning to that. And then I am essentially saying, use my nervous system to help create more drama. So if I don't find something inspiring, I just don't engage with it. In other words, the news, the drama, we're constantly creating. Every being on this planet, even the most dense human being you can think of, I know who you're thinking of, is basically saying, use this nervous system to create drama in the world. What inspires you? What inspires you? I'm going to speak for you, Andrew, because I know when you got your hands on me, I know what inspires you. And it feels really good as it's coming through my neurology.
As Wendy was talking about inspiration, I I get this sense that I like how you talked about it, accessing spirit and flow and how it's always there. And I really get the sense through my work and when I allow myself through life being a busy parent that it's a state, it being inspired and inspiration is two things. There's the kind of the what that comes from the how we are being. But I feel like the that spark is really the how. It's the what we're making ourselves available to, and we call that inspired. And so for me in my life, I'm really busy, but feeling really inspired by the busy, by all the content. And I think I'm inspired so much by experience, just the variety of experience. And in my work, experiencing health and the variety in ways that health and dis-ease, issues with health manifesting comes through. And then making myself available to seeing and feeling and learning and listening and, being surprised and, then inspired and it repeats. So it's like it's this state that we can access regularly or not, depending on where we are, what we're focusing on, the how we are being, I guess, in our day to day. I'm super inspired by my kids and how much they teach me when I let them teach me, which is most of the time. Their rawness, honesty, humor, all these things that just kind of can come naturally to people, young kids, and if we let them just kind of fly. So
I think you're really onto something there. We can draft off of kids' inspiration because they're closer to the source of inspiration.
they have created so few barriers to accessing inspire. Even my 2-year-old seeing a butterfly, it's like, it's like You know, it's like, you know, and some of us, we've normalized that, but what is normal about that? I mean, this is this creature that is a caterpillar formed from a microscopic egg that then does a full metamorphosis in 10 days and then is flying around for a couple weeks and repeats and is vibrant and, you know, so I think you're right.
They
They
spend
live.
more time in the moment.
Say again?
Kids spend more time in the moment
Yeah.
instead of in the
Yeah.
past and the future.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like there's a way too with kids, you know, they show us this. Obviously, they're very honest about what they want to do and don't want to do, and I love that about them, you know, and I think
Mhm.
that that bothers adults because we're like, well, there's just the things we have to do, and you know, and I love their pureness there. And I do think though there is a, like you were talking, Wendy, about all the things, you know, all the kind of the tasks that we have to do, and I feel like there's a way to navigate the world, kind of accessing that inspired state. Not so much that what I'm doing is like my passion, but it's almost that being in a state of wonder and moment, you know? And I think kids have the ability to do that.
Mhm.
I see that.
I think kids haven't been trained to say no to the wonder yet.
Yes. Oh, here, sorry, I'm still talking, I guess, but
Yeah, go,
I
go.
was watching this I don't know, somebody sent me, I'm blanking on the name of the Zen Buddhist monk, but the whole topic was how we are told, many of us are told when we are young to do something with your life.
Mm.
Makes, you know, make something of yourself, right, with your life. And then we create this whole kind of dialogue and narrative and pressure on our life, the value of our life. And what he was saying is like you have this whole avatar of existence that is there. But really, like you mentioned this just a second ago, Eric, we are creation. You know, creator put us here. So actually, much of the process that we should be hopefully telling kids is just to come back into that place of being creation and letting
Mm-hmm.
that flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Yes.
immediately thought back to my life. I'm sure others can relate.
Yeah. Yes, yes, and yes. I'll tell you what helps with the mundane from my perspective. Saying yes to that also. I've learned, okay, I had this one really powerful experience. Yes, it was on psychedelics, but boy, do they teach me the truth. The entire time, it was just yes, 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 yeah. And I started flashing through everything in my life. And the places where there was a resistance or there was a shutdown or and I saw the no. I saw me saying no. And if in fact everything of this existence is my own creation and I start saying no to parts of it, just let that sink in for a moment. So when I recognized that the only true answer for anything that's flowing through existence right here, mine, anybody, but in particular mine in that state, the only actual true answer was yes. Because what it is like I am now acknowledging my experience is my creation. And if I say no, I can do that, but it produces a very specific effect. And it doesn't feel good. And if I say yes, it's just open, spacious awareness. And I can see what I need to see about it, and I learn what I need to learn about it, and I understand, okay, here's how I created that. I'll give you a kind of an interesting, silly little example. There was like a 6-month period, was just really bizarre. Little things were like hitting my car. This guy backed into the car, this other woman backed into the car, and all this stuff. It's like, what is going on? And then Melissa, our daughter, right, who is very well versed in this domain, she goes, you know, you've been using the phrase, give me a break, a lot.
Oh,
And I said, holy shit, right. I stopped it. That was the end of it. That was the end of it. Before I had any idea what the power of words, the power of the concentrated thought, the power of our own projections. I was 20-something, 18, 19? Somewhere in that range. I bought my first car. It was a Datsun 260Z sports car, you know. I started a little company that it was installing. We moved into a new neighborhood, and I thought everyone was going to need alarm systems, so I figured out how to do that and started installing alarms. I made enough money to buy myself a car. Go down to Maryland on a road trip with some friends and get rear-ended by some drunk Korean guy. The car gets fixed, this and that, and I'm at the very beginning of my own spiritual journey. I don't understand the power of what kind of a manifester I actually am. And people are asking me about the accident, this and that, and I said, and I'm joking, quote unquote, and I say, yeah, this car's got an electromagnetic attraction for accidents. Holy shit! It was just one, but this cutesy creative mind starts doing this. I finally get the car back like 2 months later from being fixed. A month later, I total the car. The car doesn't have an electromagnetic attraction for accidents. I programmed it. I programmed it. We are constantly projecting that which we are. And you inject thought into the stream, especially with an emotional charge, and that's the extrusion mechanism. That's what creates the shape of the form of the energy that gets out and becomes physical reality. This is the way it works. This is not a belief. This is the way it works. And you can either own it or not. And the nature of the collective energy is it's a negative flow, which means if you do not assert an affirmative position, by default, you are into the negative flow. That's just the way it is on this plane, right now. What is interesting about it and what gets easier is, because like attracts like, right? As you start attuning and letting inspiration live through and work through, you meet other like-minded people like us, and we all hang out, and our collective energy is an incredible amplifier, right? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, 10 people here. This is, the collective energy here is basically 2 to the 10th power. That's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 246, 2046, 40, 96. 10 of us coming together with a unit of energy is 4,096 times more powerful than 1 million people who are caught in a non-coherent state. And so it is a level of responsibility, response-ability, to understand, recognize, own our creative, it's not even capacity, to own our true identity as a creator and understand what that responsibility is. And so another thing the Course in Miracles says, which is really useful, is we first choose that which we want to see, and then we see it. And so if somebody's heavily invested in resentment, they're essentially choosing to see resentment, and they will find it. If you choose to see inspiration, if you choose to serve inspiration, like you with your music, it amplifies and amplifies and amplifies and amplifies and amplifies. And frankly, this is so powerful, it has overtaken whatever it is I used to think I was. And I'm really thrilled about that. I don't need any of that stuff. I'm just what it is right now. Wendy said that we changed moment to moment. That's a good one. Which means, as Ram Dass said, there's no place to stand. There's no place to stand. Which is to say, you cannot park yourself in a static identity because it doesn't exist. But the ego frantically is invested in trying to create and maintain a static identity. And to the degree that I lend my identity to that, which happened, we all go through this, it's all part of the process, to the degree that I unconsciously let myself believe that I am that static, that mechanism which is trying to create and maintain a static identity called the ego, is the degree to which I will suffer. Okay, that's just the way it goes. Because the Buddha said, what is the source of suffering? It's the clinging of mind. And clinging of mind shows up in two forms, aversion and attachment. So a thought pattern or a system of thought that is trying to create and maintain a static image or a static sense of self has to be clinging constantly, right? Because what is the fundamental nature of creation? Constant dynamic creation. There's no clinging whatsoever. There's no clinging to anything I think I know or think I want to need to know. So the part that's clinging and saying, this is who I am, this is who I am, this is who I am, and constantly trying to feed it, and in very cases it feels empty because it's false, it's a fake self. And so then what it does is it starts to blow itself up, it starts to inflate itself. To somehow say, I exist, and it's frantic to try to maintain this thing of existence. And it is fucking exhausting. But that's what most people believe that they are. But there's a whole waking up thing going, where we're waking up from this thing. Because what we are is not static. What I was the moment I started that sentence is not what I am right now. I had this other experience on a different psychedelic at a different time. I mean, these are useful experiences. I'm not justifying. Because there was a whole thing where somebody said to me, like, I don't remember exactly the way it was said, but it was like, you know too much. It was something of that nature. I mean, I know a lot of facts, I know a lot of technology, I know how to do stuff. That's not what they were talking about, I realized. So I'm on this medicine, and I thought I knew something about it, but the game shifted on me immediately. And it was different than I thought it was. And I start laughing because I'm realizing how my thinking I knew something moved the experience to the left when that's not what was going on. And the moment I let it go, it moved to the right and it opened up. It just exploded into this whole other level of understanding. And I'll tell you what it is. Because so it is that The nature of what we are is dynamic creative flow. I've said this, but just imagine this incredible energy stream of stunning creation moving constantly, all of it. That's our natural state. When we trust and we let go, this is what goes on. And it shows up in the right ways, in the right relationship with everything else around itself. It's just off the charts brilliant. But the part of me that needs to know in order to create some level of security starts accumulating knowledge. It says, okay, I know this, I'm going to file it away. The ego does this, right? I'm going to file it away so if X happens, I know what to do. I'm going to do this, I'm going to file that away now. And then it starts building up this own private little database. But what those are, it's because I saw it physically, I saw it like actually in the energy field while I was on this medicine. I saw that everything that I was accumulating and thinking I need to hold on to, just in case I'm going to need it, was a block in the energy flow. Because it's not just that I make it up. The natural state is one of constant flow. So if I want to keep something static, or if some part of my consciousness wants to keep something static, it takes constant energy to build and maintain a structure to keep it static. So now if you just put the total amount of energy available to you at any one moment, let's say if you were maxed in flow is 100. Well, now 10% of that is now going to maintain that one structure. Not bad if it was only one structure, but it turns out I got 1 million of them. Because it's not just my structure, it's about the idea about how reality is, or mistaken idea of what it is, but it's my parents and their parents and their parents, and then it's the culture, and it's the religion, and it's the... all of that is mixed into it all. Now the good news is we can actually let it all go. We don't need it. We don't need it. Because my experience is the universe, this creative flow we're talking about, that we are, is what I call a real-time delivery system. Over in Silicon Valley, there's this manufacturing supply chain thing called just-in-time manufacturing. You don't make a big stockpile of stuff, you just have your supply chain flow in a way that you're basically getting what you need for that day. Well, it turns out that the universe does this for us in this instant. Which is why I could feel pretty secure these days about walking into a thing like this, not having any idea about what I'm going to say. But you've noticed this. Start paying attention to this for yourself, right? Energy flows where attention goes. Start paying attention to how brilliant your own creative flow is as a real-time delivery to give you what you need right now.
Just in time.
Just in time. The timing is off the charts incredible. And oftentimes it likes to play fun games with me. It'll give me things in an order that my linear mind says, that can't happen that way. It's the way it did. It's like the way it created these 2 trips for us. We already had Hawaii on the books. We had our place, we booked, we're going to Kauai. Then the trip to UK came along. Now, had it gone down where the UK trip came first, we never would have gone to Hawaii that close together. But it turned out that Hawaii was the perfect setup to be relaxed, to open up, to do our creative processes that we were doing there, so that when I walked into what I consider musical mecca, one of the most inspirational, it is the preeminent recording complex in the world, where hundreds and hundreds of third world musicians have come to record on the Real World label. I mean, the level of creation, where Peter Gabriel, ever since the So album came out, had created every other piece of music, the soundtrack to The Last Temptation of Christ, all the other pieces, I mean, unbelievable amount of creative flow that I just got to steep in, sit in, and it was so, not was, it is, because it's still operating, so visceral it is so, something in me was aligned with that, which is why I ended up there. That's the creative flow. I did not think it through. And so something brought, that something is the us, brought me there to sit in that, to steep in that, to melt away any of the resistances in me about working at that level. Which I had no idea. When this came about, I knew one thing. Whatever this is going on here, this is way bigger than anything I understand. That's what the energy felt like. And I go through it. And now in the aftermath, what I recognize is there are some essential parts of me that I picked up some blocks about. Like when my parents said, no, don't go into music, go into engineering. You know, there's too much drugs, it's too hard to make a living. At that time in my life, I internalized that as a block of this, the flow of the musical channel in me. But what I'm doing now in general is I'm just acting as a creative flow for anything that in me that wants to speak. But if these areas were blocked up, it wasn't just affecting my musical expression. It was affecting all of my expression. Because it's not little building blocks, it's hologram. So coming into that very powerful, high creation energy field eliminated all those blocks. And what ended up happening is all the other areas of my life that are not explicitly musical, all of a sudden just started flowing even more. Because everything is connected to everything. And so somehow by saying yes to that, my writing gets improved. And like all the pieces, the inner overflowing joy that is just what we are in our most natural state is just amplified. I just sit there and it's like, it's constantly there. I'm not constantly puttering around. Like I'm sitting in the hot tub in the morning listening to the birds and I'm just going, this is amazing. And I'm not on a psychedelic when that's happening, just for the record.
Eric, when you had expressed the voice of one of your parents saying, "Now that's not practical," I mean, that was identical to my mother's voice. "Now, honey, that's not realistic. Now, honey, that's not very practical." It wasn't specific to a career, you know, I was younger, but everything was like, "Ooh, it'd be fun to be a farmer. You know, that's really hard work. That's not very practical. Ooh, you know, we lived in Western Mass and there was Sturbridge Village and all this colonial history. I would have liked to live during colonial times. Oh, you know, women weren't treated very well then." It was just always the shutting down dump. And so I just stopped vocalizing or even dreaming or visioning about what could be, because there was always this, "Now, honey, that's not practical." There was always the honey in there, you know, but
Sweetened it up a little.
yeah, right.
Made you believe it more.
It took me a long time to, you know, realize that, and you know, and I never was a person that like set goals or had visions and worked toward them. It was just, I just sort of stumbled through my life, and you know, there was a lot of beauty and joy along the way, and there was a lot of pain and sorrow along the way. But those things are so impactful.
They're so impactful.
And then when you were saying, you know, just being open and trusting, and that the inspiration might not come to you in the way that you think it should or could. It's so true. And like our ego mind and linear minds, it's like, okay, I'm open to the flow, and it's going to be like this, and it's going to come this way, and this is going to be the timing, and this is going to be the result. And it's like, that's not flow, that's bullshit, you know. So, and that we're so attuned to that when it comes, sometimes we don't recognize it
recognize
as what we're open to, or we might shut it down or criticize it, or like you said, it's not in the right order, you know. So thank you for all these reminders. Yeah, and I had lunch with an old friend that I had lost touch with, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not in a very creative space right now. I haven't written any songs, and usually I write it in my journal, and then I go back in my journal. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. That could be something. But if I don't have anything to look back on, then there's nothing. You know, it's like last night was a gorgeous, glowing sky. We went out our back gate to the San Lorenzo River levee, and I went and grabbed this trimmers, and we went and picked a levee bouquet of all the flowers that are growing over people's fences or just wild out there. And I brought a levee bouquet to our neighbors that just had a baby. And I was like, that's what it's all about. That's creative right there.
Right there.
That's being in the flow and open to inspiration.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like something grand, great, grand, and glorious. It can be something small, like, here's beauty, and I'm sharing it with you. Anyway.
It is. It's the
You can move
little,
the camera off.
the little things. People don't like the camera on it. You're right. The ego makes up these hallucinations of what it should look like. Now let me ask you, when you're honest with yourself, how many of those hallucinations have ever actually matched reality? Not even once. So why do we bother to pay attention to any of that? I mean, I think you called it out, Anthony, and you said it's bullshit. So the ego says it's got to look like this and this and this, but it's like the smallest thing. It's like you just heard this butterfly go whizzing past your ear, and you go, "Oh, that's as powerful." In fact, no, it's more powerful than any story the ego is going to make up about it. And so I love this phrase that I use: whatever you appreciate appreciates. Pay attention to the small things and go, oh yeah, thank you.
And start the day that way.
And start the day that way. How do you start your day, Catherine?
With gratitude.
With gratitude. Yeah.
There's so much to be grateful for.
Yeah. 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 I work with a lot of people, and a particular person I work with is like, he complains a lot about everything that's wrong in that person's life. That's a tough hole to be in. It really is. Because it's a victim stance.
And it feeds itself.
And everything we focus on feeds itself. And so the victim stance is an interesting one. It is the antithesis of what we actually are. Because when you recognize that you really do create your own experience, your own unique reality, when you recognize that everyone creates their own experience and reality, there is no such thing as a victim. I can feel it just by saying that, the pushback. I don't care. It's the absolute truth. But what about the weapon? Everyone, without fail, is in the right place for their own awakening, for where they're at right now. And some of it is incredibly painful and harsh. I'm not going to deny that. And I understand that. To the ego, a little kid suffering is offensive as all hell. But especially when you say something like, we create our own reality. It makes no sense. But if you recognize that the soul picks its journey, its curriculum, This could be beyond our ability to accept even. But it doesn't change the nature of the way the soul grows. Point being, rolling back here, that is applicable to each one of us there's no victim. If something in my path caused me some level of pain, discomfort, I somehow did, something inside me was the right energy pattern to manifest that, in my experience. This is an incredible schoolhouse. It's incredible. All the lessons are interlinked. The level of intelligence that is behind all of this to make all this actually work is mind-blowing. So, the practical takeaways, own it. Own what you are. That's the most important one. Now own the responsibility for what it means to be the creator. And then do whatever you got to do in yourself, to the mind discipline, the energy discipline, the healing work to clear out all the wounds, the resentments. That's on us. If you think you're a victim, you're stuck. You're stuck in the ego's narrative, because that's the only place that lives. It's not real. Say yes to inspiration, yes to what you are. It's not far-fetched to say I am the creator for each of us. Each of us to say I am the creator. Because apparently there's only one of us and we're just reflections of this oneness. Not even reflection, what's the right word? We are, what was that?
Facets.
Facets of the one light.
Expressions of.
Expressions of, right, of the one. It just happens to look like your configuration and this configuration and that configuration.
Otherwise, we'd get confused about who everybody was if we didn't look different.
Right.
The Borg.
The board.
The board, yeah. Now, for another time, what I just said here really applies to every human being on the planet. That every human being on the planet is a facet of the one light. Good. That means we're going to have a satsang about judgment. And unwinding that one. That's a good one. Which is fundamentally different from discernment. But the ego conflates the two just to keep this stuck. That'll be another one. Okay, anybody want to share anything? We'll go sit for a little bit.
I
Okay.
just appreciate the reminder of opening to the joy and the beauty and experiencing as much as we can with wonder and awe and curiosity, like the children do.
Like the children. Which is exactly in alignment with what Jesus said. If you want to enter the kingdom of heaven, you have to become like a little child again. Which is to say, if you want to live in that place of consciousness, of the true nature of consciousness, joy, you let go of everything you think you've accumulated and know, so you could just be in the ah.
That's something. Eric,
Yeah. Go ahead, Kim.
when we were talking about kids, I think they're so beautiful because they're still so close to their soul before it gets taught out of them, their true self.
Hmm. Yeah. There's this whole thing that, I don't know if you've ever read about these kids who remember their past lives. You know, and one tells his parent, no, I was that so-and-so in India, and the parent goes, checks out, turns out there was somebody that lived that way, exactly the way that kid said. And this is very well documented. And there's something about, I don't know if it was like by 8 years old, if you ask them about this, they have access to many kids have access to it. But after that, it starts to fade really quickly. Because then we start to get educated is what happens.
Indoctrinated.
Indoctrinated.
Inculcated.
Inculcated. Ooh, good word.
We get, there's another good in something or other word. But we take on the education of how to be a human according to the laws of this culture. And the culture is insane. Which is why Krishnamurti said being well adjusted in a sick society is not a sign of good mental health. Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
One thing that came to me when everybody was talking, especially Wendy, a simple way for me to look at it, creativity and inspiration, it really comes down to just practicing being solely present in the present moment. And then all the things we were talking about, like being in the flow, or being aware, or being inspired, or appreciating things, or being grateful. One practice for me is just, that's it, be super present in the present moment. And then you're creating, you're in tune, that's all you have to do. Just anything you can do to be really super present.
Yeah.
And that's one way to get there.
It's the fundamental way.
Yeah.
It's really moving into being. It's letting go of the distractions, and you end up in presence. And so it's actually effortless.
Yeah.
It takes a hell of a lot of energy to not be here now. That's what the culture is invested in. Every possible distraction.
You know, on a physical level, we're automatically creating. I mean, we're taking oxygen out of the air, converting that to energy, and that fuels our mind and our movements and what we do in the world. And then we take other living things into our body, plants and animals, and taking oxygen out of there, and then look what we create out of that. It's just these minerals and some water and oxygen, and look what we do with that. Everything that we live in our life.
And then
We're creating, look what we're creating.
Constantly.
It's not like we're not intellectually doing anything. We couldn't. I mean, but it's all happening. It's all being created.
Yeah. It's all happening.
That's inspiring.
It is.
The Revolutionary Love Project is inspiring to me.
What is it?
This woman named Valerie Carr, she's in Los Angeles. She's just all about the power of love to heal the wounds of the world. And, you know, it's not a new concept by any means, but just incredibly potent. Like one of her projects, or their projects, is writing letters to the people in the Delaney Hall Detention Center in New Jersey, in English or Spanish, just so they remember that they're not forgotten. Things like that. So that gives me inspiration, because it gives me hope. So things that stir hope in me. Oh, like that sunset. Holy shit, another beautiful one.
Oh, yeah.
There's a sunset out there
Yeah,
somewhere.
That gives me inspiration too.
Yeah. Different than last night, but
Very
gorgeous.
different. Well, it's behind
The
trees.
sun
and
setting has been
I was
amazing
looking
lately.
at it
Yeah,
without.
well, I just happened to stand out at this amazing time.
Mhm.
It's just- I called John out.
Mhm.
Okay, let's sit
We're all
for a
on
little bit. And take a moment to just allow tonight's sharing to just float through us. Just say yes to what's present right now. Exactly as this moment is. And if you want, you can take this yes from this moment now and send it to any part of your history timeline where you feel it would really be good to have a yes instead of a no. And just see what presents itself to you. It's a yes to what is instead of the no to what is. See where that works for you. for being here tonight.